Hello, hello, and welcome to this week's Profit Maximizer Moment. My name is Belisle. I'm a local CPA in El Paso, Texas. Matter of fact, I was just looking at it. It'll be 50 years next year that I've been a CPA. I've been in business for myself since 1991, so 26 of those have been on my own. 91, phew, crap, 36 of those. Math is my specialty. I just didn't want to think how long I've been doing this. Anyways, I've been watching business owners for a good 50 years now, and I've noticed some things, and I've done some things right and wrong over those time frames. But one of the things I've noticed is consistently the profitable ones really aren't the ones always that have the best ideas. I've seen some people that always have good ideas, just never can be profitable. They're not the ones that have the most talent or the fanciest equipment. I've seen people be very successful with 10-year-old computers. You know, I joke I still have the same desk I bought 30 some odd years ago. Why? It's still standing. Everybody here has a newer desk than me, but that's besides the point. Look, strategy and good ideas don't pay the bills. They don't work. It's something else that works. It's sitting down every Tuesday and looking at the numbers. It's meeting consistently weekly with your key employees. It's doing your cash forecast at least monthly, but if not weekly would be best. Look, small habits done every week. That's better than any strategy because it's follow-up. It's something I teach in my course. Good ideas plus action equals massive profits because that's what it takes. Now, action, just one-off actions don't really do anything. All right. You need to have a habit. You need to get into it more. All right. Owners don't really adapt these habits. They just because they read them in a book. Usually what happens, there was some crisis or something that forced them to adopt it because they understood they couldn't keep doing things the way they were doing them in the past. Okay. So rhythm, constant habits that you do every week, every month, every quarter, every year. These businesses compound over time and make more money than the ones that just put out fires and grind. And, it's why one of the things I've often said, you need to have an annual profit plan, but then that does no good if you don't implement it. And really, habits aren't hard, all right? But owners skip the habits for a lot of reasons. They feel like it's overhead. I should be out selling or producing or something. I'm too busy to sit down and review numbers. Well, you should because I hate the idea, and I run into it a lot. Unfortunately, I'm doing a tax return. They've extended it, so I'm doing it now, and it's the first time they know whether they made money in 2025. How do you run a business like that? I mean, that's flat out crazy. All right. Second reason they don't do it is it's repetitive work. It's boring. I'd rather go out and sell. If nothing's on fire, feels pointless to review the numbers. I got plenty of cash in the bank. I got work in the pipeline uh, until all of a sudden it is on fire. Your pipeline wasn't full or wasn't full with the right thing, or you're not selling the right products at the right price. Um, and you realize if you've been looking at your numbers, you would have caught it long ago. Had a client that we sat down and looked at their numbers. We looked at it. I sat down and looked at their numbers with them quarterly. And I caught in the first quarter of one year, this was probably 10, 12 years ago now, I can't remember exactly when, that their sales in one particular division, one particular part had dropped dramatically, like almost $300,000, well, 150, something like that. It was a large number. When I asked why, well, they didn't know. So they started asking questions, called somebody and I said, oh yeah, that's that customer, they just decided they went somewhere else. And it's kind of bothered the owner a little bit because they'd been with him for so long. So he picked up the phone, or she picked up the phone actually, and called the owner. So I thought we were still buying from you. But what it ended up happening is they had hired this customer had hired somebody that did purchasing who switched to their friend. So we caught it early enough. They were able to go catch it, resell it, remind them why they did a good job. And the owner of the customer was actually, yeah, we're not getting the same level of service. And I thought you guys were just dropping the ball. So worse than losing the customer, you were losing your reputation. But we caught it very fast. They were able to resell it. If we hadn't caught it, Kind of remember it was about 100, 125, 150,000 a quarter, but that would have turned into a $600,000 loss of sales, $300,000 worth of gross profit disappearing, roughly. All right. So yeah, reviewing your numbers allows you, if you do it correctly, you know what you're doing. And if you don't, get with your CPA, call me. I'll sit down and tell you, go over your books, make sure they're actually accurate and giving you good book numbers. If not, we'll fix it. And what numbers should you be looking at? We'll talk about that in a second, okay? Uh, it feels formal. The owner who comes up scrappy resists structured rhythms because they feel that's too corporate. If I wanted to work in corporations, in large corporations, I'd go work in large corporations. Okay, I don't want to do that. So that's too much like big business. I don't want to do that. It's not. You know, it's what turns many businesses fail because they don't make that jump. They start off, the entrepreneur is good. They get to a point where they have 5 to 10, 15 employees. If they're a service industry, about 500 to 700,000 in billings. If they're selling something, 1.5 to 2.5 million, all of a sudden now they start to run into trouble. Why? Because they can no longer do it by the seat of their pants like they would when they first started off. Now they have to make the transition from being a entrepreneur to being an entrepreneur manager because they have to be able to manage their business or they lose track. And I gave you one example. I can give you plenty more of people that didn't keep an eye on their numbers. All right. And it feels another reason they don't do it. It's optional. Yeah, it can wait a week, until they learn it isn't always optional because, again, like I said, you're not catching things. So every operating habit feels optional until the moment it becomes a crisis, and it no longer is. The businesses that build in advance don't have that moment. They avoid it, which is good. So what do I need? Well, the numbers I should be looking at I would say weekly, but at least monthly. At a bare minimum monthly. I need to know how much cash I have. And that one, truthfully, I would say you should look at it weekly, if not daily. And, where did it increase from last week? You want to do it at the same time, okay? So if on Monday I looked at my cash balance and last week I had 100,000, this week I have 70, what happened? So that you go and look, okay? Receivables outstanding, how old are they? I've done complete videos on collecting receivables. You can find them on our channel. So, go back and look because if receivables I found is one thing. If the owner doesn't stay on top of receivables, they grow. And even if you delegate it to somebody, you need to stay on top of it so you can pay attention. Sales this week versus last week versus last year's same week versus what our budget was. Are we hitting our sales target? If not, what do we need to do? Expenses that all of a sudden shoot up and look weird. Good financial statements actually ask questions. And the business owner doesn't need to, like if you're using QuickBooks, you don't need to be an expert in QuickBooks. I train business owners all the time. Let's memorize these reports and here's what you're looking for. All right. And one question, what's a question that you should be asking every time? What was different this week than last week or this month than last month? For the better, what was something good? I would ask it two ways. What was something good? What was something bad? Most most business owners who adopt these and take the time once a week or once a month at a bare minimum to look at these 5 different things and ask those questions, catch problems way in advance. All right. A numbers review isn't about the numbers. Understand that. It's about creating a weekly moment where problems become visible while they're still small, rather than waiting until I run out of cash in the bank or I find out a business went bankrupt instead of, because I didn't collect for 100 days when I could have got it paid much faster before they went. So, what about conversations? Well, I think there's 2 conversations that you need to have on a weekly basis. And I don't mean just, how you doing? What's going on? I mean, actually sitting down and talking, and that's with your key employees. Can't do it with every employee, though. When I was at Belisle Coca-Cola, I had 30 to 40 people working under me. I made an effort to stop in and talk to each one of them a little bit every week. But with my 3 or 4 main managers, we met every week. All right. I met with them on a Monday and Monday morning first thing, and said, all right, here's what are we going to be working on this week? See what they thought they were going to work on. And then I said, well, here's some things that came up that we need to work on. All right. And then we met on, and I did it first thing in the morning on Monday. Why? Because people come in at work on a Monday and they're catching up on the weekend. So no work's actually getting done in the first half hour, 45 minutes anyway, so you might as well use it. And then Friday afternoon, usually at 4 or right before everybody left, an hour before everybody left, I would meet with them again and say, all right, this is what we said we were going to do this week. What got done? What didn't get done? What stopped you from getting done? Because as a manager, your job is to give direction and then give them the resources to get it done and to eliminate any roadblocks that are in their way, or at least help them go around those roadblocks. Okay. This prevents your best person from quitting because they feel like they're invisible. They're part of the team now. All right. Then the other thing you want to do is create a conversation with yourself. Now, when I'm coaching people, I ask for 4 hours a week, 50 weeks a year to work on improving their business. And start with the 90-day profit reset. We're doing a course right now that we're going to put together, and you can buy it at any time. It's 13 long weeks, but it's literally based on the book, but expanded. And then, going further after that, we're going to be talking about, an annual profit plan, because profits don't happen by accident, but they take time with you. At a bare minimum, schedule 2 hours every month. I personally like an hour every week. I want 4 hours, because if I do that in 50 weeks, I'm a nice guy. I'll give you 2 weeks off for vacation and holidays. And then on top of that, the math works better. If I do 50 weeks times 4 hours, I'm spending 200 hours a year improving my business, improving my sales, and putting systems in place, working on the profit formula. I've discussed that before. I also have blogs on it, blog articles on it. Working on making my business more profitable. Profits are not an accident. Profits are based on consistent, steady, rhythmic improvements. When I'm sitting down working with a client to work on an annual profit plan, we're not doing anything crazy. We're looking for simple 2% improvements every month, because after 2 years, that's 24 times 2% is not 24%. It's not 48%. All right. It's because 24 times 2 is 48. Because it's compounded, it's closer to 60 or 70% improvement in your bottom line. And what we're doing here is we're saying, I'm not looking for big improvements. I'm looking for steady, simple, small improvements on efficiency. And with AI, we're looking more and more into ways to make ourselves more efficient, so that with the same number of staff, we can take on more capacity, which means we're making more money, right? All right. So that's something we need to look at. Plan to have some time with yourself. If you have to get out of the office, get out of the office. If you need to go, if you need to do the go to a coffee shop somewhere, or come in on a Saturday morning and Friday after everybody's left, whatever. Make sure you're fresh. Have a plan. If you don't have a plan, you're just wasting time. But, get my book, take my course, call me, be happy to meet with you. Seriously. Last thing is cash. Cash surprises. They shouldn't happen. Simple as that. Every week, project your cash. Well, I don't do it every week, but monthly. And at least quarterly, I'll update my budget. I used to do it every month, and I literally take my budget and cash flow out. I don't need to do it monthly now because our cash flow is all right. But for a long time, I would sit down in May when I got tax season done. I knew what was here. I knew what was extended. I would sit down and do a cash budget for the rest of the year and see that I was going to be $40,000, $50,000 short by the end of the year. So what do? Well, hustle. But I had 6, 8, 10 months worth of planning. Same thing with taxes. Do some tax planning at the end of the year. That's something we're swamped at the end of the year because we do a ton of tax planning. If I tell a business owner they're going to owe 60, 70,000 and they really should pay it in April, but I can get them till October, every business owner, if I give them 6 to 10 months worth of warning, they can come up with the money. But if your CPA calls you October 10th and says you owe $80,000 and it's got to be paid by Thursday, 5 days from now, yeah, I'm not planning on it. That's where you need to do a cash budget. Okay. You don't, you, if you do the budget, you're going to find out about the cash crunch before it hits here. It gives you time to fix things. Go out and get a line of credit, find more customers, get rid of, stop paying yourself as much, whatever you need to do. I got a whole section on that, how to find cash when you need it. All right. So, consistently profitable businesses aren't run on genius. They're really not. They're run on rhythm, getting good habits and doing them consistently. Weekly numbers review, recurring conversations, rolling cash forecasts, spending 4 hours a week improving your business consistently every week. All right. That turns strategy into follow up. Remember what I said? This is a key point I'm always pushing. Good ideas plus action equals massive profits. Okay. You don't need a bigger business. You need better rhythm. You don't need more sales if you're not making them profitable sales. Okay. Look, if your feels like your business is running you and you're not running it, uh, you want to talk about habits and how which habits would move the needle the fastest in your specific business, give me a call. You can call me on my office number is 915-857-8158. You can email me, Wayne at gmail.com. Sorry, Wayne at wjb-cpa.com. Both of them come to me. Or just go to waynebelisle.com/clarity and schedule a quick call. I joke I built my business one free hour at a time. Love talking to business owners and helping them. And until next time, this is Wayne Belisle saying, let's make this our most profitable year ever. Have a great weekend. God bless, and see you in church, hopefully. Thank you. Bye. And we're out of here.